I'd like to call the meeting to order of the joint select board, joint with audit and finance, as well as our select board meeting. June 24th, 2025, at 6:02 p.m. I'll have a roll call, please.
Veronica Cal present.
Valerie Goodrich present.
Laura Schiffman present. We also have many others here, which will be announced later. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank our veterans and all of those that are currently serving here and abroad, as well as all of our first responders here in Townsend and their families. I would also like to thank all of our appointed and elected officials who are volunteers to this town, as well as our staff. They are all appreciated, and I appreciate all of those who attended last night's meeting to approve our budget. The meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. 1.4, under Chairman's additions or deletions, we will be deleting 3.2, which has to do with the Community Preservation Committee, and we cannot appoint that until after the bylaw is approved by the Attorney General's office. So that will be done or posted after that happens.
Madam Chair, could we also move 3.4 for the next meeting with the town meeting and everything? I have been able to get confirmation on this. We will do that.
This is the board. We will delete 3.4.
And move it to 7.1.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd also like to move out of order. Well, we're going to add 3.6, which is the appointment of Harrison Mayotte as I'm reading under the additions and deletions right now. I haven't moved. Okay. Let me put my glasses on, maybe that'll help. 3.6. This is under additions and deletions. We're going to add 3.6 to appoint Harrison Mayotte as record access officer, effective 6/24/25 through 6/30/26. 3.1. Still in progress, move to another meeting. I request that we move that to July 1st. You guys are good, okay? And then 2.3. That is there. Did you want me to do something with that?
Move it to
It's already there. July 1st?
7:15.
3.3, we will move to July 15th. Everyone's okay with that? And I would like to bring out of order. Where are you? Where is she? 3.5. Appoint Jessica Funioli as account manager, water technician, effective July 16th, 2025. Jessica, do you want to join us? And Harrison, so okay. And Harrison.
So I have my resignation because I know that you didn't want to appoint me until a resignation was given. I didn't want to give the resignation until I was assured that an appointment was given because I can't go back on a resignation. And if you don't appoint me, then I'm without a job. So I have the hesitation. I have it right here. I will sign it and Harrison will receive it right now if your vote is to appoint me to the water department effective July 16th.
I guess the question is there a motion?
Oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. I was waiting to see. No, that's just.
So Madam Chair, so it can't work quite like that, because once there's a motion and a vote, then you've appointed before the resignation has occurred, because she's expressed her willingness to make the resignation. So I think the idea would be, you would discuss the appointment, you would reach an informal consensus as to what your intended vote is going to be. You could even take a straw poll, and then once Jessica's comfortable that that straw poll indicates that you are about to vote to appoint her, she will tender her resignation immediately prior to you voting.
Okay, thank you. So board members, Val,
Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
My intention is to appoint Jessica to the water
and
department.
mine is too.
Okay.
We are all
Okay.
set.
Signing it right now.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Jessica Finelli as accounts manager, water technician to the water department effective 7/16/2025.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call.
Veronica Kell, yes.
I'll go to Jess.
And Laura Schiffern, yes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, ladies. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Congratulations.
Good luck, Jessica.
Thank you.
All the water things, right?
So I think we can move forward with our joint meeting of the select board and the audit committee, and finance, and the auditor. And who is our auditor?
It's Roselli. I don't think they are on yet. I think they were told 6:15. That is Elizabeth. She is the town accountant.
Okay, well, we have called to order, and I mentioned oath to joint, so Don, you want to do your thing?
We can do that. And I don't see it here. Has Harrison been appointed as audit to the audit committee previously? I saw a volunteer sheet for it.
Usually we do those appointments in December, correct?
To audit.
It is, but there was an open position in it.
I haven't been appointed, so.
Okay, I just wanted to
No.
be sure. It's kind of like as we call on members to order.
Sabrina, did we get the volunteer form for that?
We did, we discussed. I thought we did. I thought I saw it.
I think it was the bylaw part that was discussed, I don't know that audit was discussed.
Yeah.
Bylaw was discussed. We did, we must have passed over that then.
I
I
don't
thought
think
I
it's
saw
on
the
the-
form. Yeah, okay.
No, I just wanted to be sure as we open the
Okay.
audit committee to the members.
Okay,
Okay, so I'd like to call to order the Townsend Audit Committee meeting at, 6:10 PM. Roll call vote, roll call attendance, please.
Veronica Kell present.
Don Hayes present.
Sam Grant present?
No, sorry,
No,
this is.
Oh, the audit committee.
committee.
You got me too many committees. I'm waiting for this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Audit
Now I know where we
That's
are.
just
Another one
us.
to order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
This meeting is being recorded. At this time, there are no additions or deletions, and we are to have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and Select Board. Next. I would like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting at 6:11 PM. Roll call attendance, please.
Sam Grant present?
Gerald Bazika present.
Mary Jane Churchill present. Carol Hoffs is present.
Don Hayes present, and Dave is traveling for work, so that is a quorum. This meeting is, I'm sorry, Mark is absent. The meeting is being recorded. At this point, there are no additions or deletions to the agenda. So we stand ready to go into the joint meeting with the auditor.
We have another one.
Not a second. I have the big one, yeah. This big one, the two smaller ones. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, that's the other, okay, that's provided.
Right, you sent this to us, right?
Oh,
yes.
I didn't know about this one.
What's this?
The big one you sent.
Yeah, the 48 pages.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big one and this one. but
What's
this
I don't
one-
think
this
you
one
sent
I
the
had
little
not
one.
seen. Yeah,
Do we know what it is?
that is findings, I believe.
This is,
So that the same thing?
I'm gonna look.
This is, yeah, this is,
No, one's a report and one's,
this I think is findings.
it's a report on compliance. This is,
Yeah, pretty good. Just like the one I don't have.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
I tuned, but
I think we told them that.
This is for the audit committee to take over from here.
generally it's not. If you look at the, correspondence, it's to the select board.
It is to the select board.
It's, again, it's the three boards, as the presentation goes, if we have questions, we can go around committee to committee and ask if there's anything, but in general, it's kind of like the audit committee is just one person from select board, one person from finance committee right now. So we can approach it from that.
Taking over on this.
All right. I'm just gonna ask him to review his findings and go over anything significant that, and then any questions that we have on both the regular audit and then the federal grants audit.
So it sounds like you want the auditors to start and give their presentation, and I don't see them.
But they aren't here yet.
It's Jake Cherry. Maybe I don't know.
It's nobody that I know. But it's Roselli and Clark.
And I think it was Tony that was the other
So this isn't.
by.
I would just ask, I don't remember, I think I said that the meeting was being recorded, but I didn't ask if anybody else was recording. I don't think any of us did.
No.
Is there anyone else recording? Hearing none. Is there anyone online from Roselli, the auditor? Okay then.
Hello, an email from him today that he was expecting to join at 6:30.
Oh, I didn't know that.
6:30?
I think that's what his email said. I'll see you at 6:30.
Okay.
All right, well, should we,
Yeah, if it pleases everyone, I'd like to get some business done then.
Question before we go, because there is something on the select board that could be joint with finance committee. So I could go in and modify the transfers. I believe, what did I, this, the reserve fund transfers, or,
I thought that was
the
deleted.
municipal reserve transfers. I thought there were multiple that we were.
4.2?
I don't have any more to add tonight. We did have some last meeting that I forgot to scan and send to you.
Okay.
I plan on the select board meeting on July 1st again. I should have the final batch at that
Okay,
point.
sorry, it's kind of like, I just figured it was something we could do.
Sure.
When are you guys meeting? committee?
We didn't have it set, so we will set a meeting and see when we're gonna do it. Usually we go closer to the end. At this point, we will normally, we would have done it tonight if we had what we have, but we'll go closer to the end so that they're all done at the same time.
So,
But
Okay,
I will also check on the account and see if there's somebody that,
okay, everyone.
okay,
Um,
so probably, the first week or so.
let's call 10.
Okay.
Yeah, something around that.
Okay, yeah, I think that should be, we'll definitely have, the select board's, review and approval buttoned up by then for you guys to approve it.
okay, we have the auditor on.
Yep, I see Tony.
Tony, did you want to give your presentation?
If you're ready for me, yeah.
Yeah, we were ready before.
You guys were going a little fast tonight, huh? Because yeah, they told me to sign
Trying
on
to.
at 6:15. But it's hot out, and I want to go out and grill some steaks. So let's get this done as quickly as possible, and ask any questions as we go. I believe everybody knows me. I'm Tony Roselli. I'm the managing partner for Roselli, Clark and Associates, and we do the audit for the town of Townsend. We've done the audit 3 times now. So very quickly, a lot of noise. Is that?
Sorry. Does
Is
it
that
sound like,
that's not me, right?
is it air rushing?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it's gone now. It was very loud for a second. I wasn't sure what that was. So quickly, the first report I want to go through is the what's called the governance report. So at the end of our audit, we're required to provide you with a report to governance. You are the governance of the town, the Selectboard. And in there, we're required to report if there were any disagreements, which there were not, if there were any material weaknesses, which there were not, if there was any accounting principles that weren't being followed, which there were not. So all of that, pretty standard. Went through that. That all checked out okay. Then, as we get down into the report, page 3 of the report, and this is the 4-page report, there are some observations that we can go through. It is. It's getting loud again, like a wind tunnel. Are you getting that too, Elizabeth?
Let me turn that, maybe turn the air off, yeah.
I'll try to talk over it, but that's okay. Oh, I think
It's a little control panel down at the bottom. It's a little remote at the bottom.
Don, the other remote.
It's the remote at the bottom, underneath it.
Underneath,
Go down.
John, the remote, all the way down, yes.
You think I might do it away?
Is that better, Tony?
Oh, that's better. Yeah, we'll have to start having these meetings in December.
Yes.
So so on page 3 of the report, we talk about some observations that came up as part of our audit, and a lot of these are basically just updates of what we have seen in the past couple of years. Happy to report some things have been resolved, so the list is getting shorter. But the first thing is just a reminder to maintain good cyber operations and security, to constantly challenge what's going on, train your employees, make sure that your vulnerabilities are checked out and resolved, so that you don't become a victim of the hackers that seem to be around every corner. Secondly is a reminder on fraud prevention. Basically, just look at departmental revenues. Are they fluctuating strangely from year to year? Is the cash handling at departments? Because we don't look at the smaller departments. When we come in and do an audit, we look at the treasurer collector, we look at the accountant. So we look at the bigger departments, the assessor, but we don't look at the small departments that sometimes collect a couple of $1,000s, the library collections, down at the police, the town clerk. We don't do a deep dive. So really, we kind of push that on the town administrative folks, the financial folks, to have good procedures to make sure that these smaller departments have good cash handling and that all the money is being collected and recorded properly.
Tony, can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This is Veronica Cal.
Sure.
Is there a suggested way? So we have cash processes between the recycling center and the Board of Health. We have cash processes between the senior center and the folks
Yep.
that use that. Is there a recommended way to make that so it isn't so cash intensive? In other words, is there a way to use cards?
One of the things I do push on my clients is to try to reduce that cash footprint and just do things online as much as possible. I know, like with the senior centers, it's difficult to get the seniors to start, doing online things. But where it's, like the town clerk's office is a great place to automate all of that and try to do as much as possible online. My town where I live, which is a very similar town to Townsend, does all the dog licenses online now. We can go in, but for the most part, we do it right online. But things like that are going to cut down the amount of cash handling. And the benefit of that is the money goes directly to the bank. It's getting invested right away. It's earning interest right away. And you're not handling the cash. So that really, to me, is take a look at those processes and see what you can bring online and automate. Just about everybody in the world, at least in the state, has a computer now that they know how to use. They know how to use emails. They know how to get online. And a lot of folks probably already pay their taxes online, so they're used to it. And that would be my recommendation, is to really do a dig down of what all your cash processes are, which ones make sense to go online, and try to promote that within the community. If you do have to collect it, there's always the folks that want to come down to town hall and pay their service off with cash. Use receipts so that you can tie back to the revenues. Your accounting and your treasury people can do spot checks of departments. So if the town clerk collected 100 dog licenses and they were $5 each, there should be $500. It's pretty simple math. So in those situations where you can't do it online, just make sure there's some accountability there through a receipt process and not just throwing everything into a shoebox. And like I said, we don't do they're so small that the departments that collect cash in relation to the town collects 25 million a year between the state and the property taxes, that these small departments don't make a big percentage of it. So our focus is more in the bigger areas when we do our audit. That's my preach on that. Any other questions on that?
Not on number 2, but I do have other questions as we go through.
Okay, super. I welcome them. So my third one is just ambulance. The balance seems to be getting higher. The activity is getting more robust. People are using the ambulance more. One thing I noticed is the collections they're coming in, but the older ones are staying out there. So the aging is getting somewhat leaning to the delinquency side. So it may make sense for the fire chief to go through the list, see what's collectible, what's not collectible. What I see often is that you find people on the list that have passed away. You're never going to collect it. The estate is settled and the balance has been there for years, or it's gone into an insurance hole that's just never going to be resolved. And the only way to really get through these is using collection agents and third parties and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's not worth it. So it may make sense for your fire chief to just go through the list, put a list together, and do an abatement probably once every couple of years to avoid it getting large. Elizabeth has her hand up.
I do. I'd just like to jump in here. There was a large abatement done and it was posted in October of this year. So
Okay.
that process has started, just to let you know.
That's great to hear. So that was done in fiscal 25, so we should see that at the end of 25. That's good news.
Exactly. Okay.
Any other questions on that particular item?
Yeah, could I just clarify?
next.
I thought that the fire department did use a vendor for the collection of those receipts. And wouldn't it be them that would do the monitoring and aging out of claims?
Yes, they do all that. They do all that for you, but it's up to you to decide which ones to abate. So the vendor provides everything. They do the billing, they provide the aging, they provide the names, addresses, the whole thing. It's up to you folks to say, hey, which ones are not collectible.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And that's how it's done in most places. Most towns use an outside vendor for that. Fourth bullet is the treasurer collector's office, and it's nice to see that this has gotten down to 2 points. At the beginning, there were more than 2 there. There was a few points. But the last couple of points there is I'd love to see some cash forecasts. Basically, at the beginning of the year, create a forecast and say, hey, what's going to come in July? What's going to come in August? What's going to come in November? So forth and so forth. And what are the disbursements? So that you can monitor your cash balance at the end of each month. The benefit of that is you can evaluate how much extra cash you have at the end of the month, and then that can be invested. Once that's invested, it increases your investment return and gives you more interest income. So, and there are some good accounts out there that are very safe, that are providing more than 1 or 2%, which is your traditional municipal accounts. You can get up to 4 or 5% now from the MMDT or T-bills or other things that are legal in Massachusetts that are fairly safe. So I'd love to see the treasurer start to do these forecasts. And secondly, there are still a few minor variances in the cash reconciliation process. And by minor, I mean like a whole bunch of them. That's probably less than $5,000 or $6,000 in total. And it was more than that when we first started. So those are being worked on and whittled away also.
Okay.
So any questions on the treasurer collector's office? Okay, the next bullet point is on capital assets. So when we came in, we inherited an inventory that was created probably in 2004 or 5, and it's been updated each year. But nobody's really taken a good look at it to see, does that 2002 Hewlett-Packard printer still exist? Probably not. So what my recommendation is for someone to like look at the inventory list, which I can provide to any, whoever would do this, and you can go from department to department and cross off what doesn't belong on that list. Because right now, when I look at it, we are carrying some really old vehicles, some really old equipment that probably has been disposed of or traded in at this point. So it'd be a good idea just to clean up the capital assets. Okay. Any questions? Keep going.
Keep going.
Next is just and this is something that might take a bit, and we completely understand. Or you can try to get a grant from the state and have like the people from UMass do it for you. But it's creating a policy and procedure manual. And at some point, Elizabeth might not be here. At some point, the treasurer collector might not be here. People turn over. It's good to have a manual to say, hey, this is how we do things in Townsend. And it's really good for continuity purposes and for someone to just know how do we operate? How do we do things? How often do we do a warrant? Who signs our warrant? What's the process of putting it together? How often do we do turnovers in the treasurer's office? These are good things to have hard-coded into a manual. So I know that that has not been done yet. And it is, like I said, for someone to do it internally, it would take a long time. but there might be some grant money available from the compact cabinet that may allow you to tap into some consultants out there that do these.
So this is for within the accounting and treasurer's office.
For the most part, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It would be mostly financial controls.
Sounded like a little more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Mass Municipal Association also offers this service now.
Yeah.
It's kind of boilerplate for towns. So if we have them in to talk about this, then, I mean, they've kind of narrowed it down to.
That's separate from budgeting though. This is for how do we name our accounts? How do we,
I believe,
those sorts of
I'll check,
things.
but I
How
believe
frequently
they
do
also-
we reconcile?
I believe they
Those sorts of things.
have an entire.
Yeah, the other things you would have in there is you would also have, that's the control part about it, but you would have a section which I think should be financial related. What percentage of your expenses should be free cash? What should be stabilization? What is the town's debt policy? Different things like that can be put into the manual too, besides the actual processes themselves. It's a neat manual to have. The bond agency folks love to see that. And, I do recommend it. And there's lots of examples around the state. You could go to listserv and say, hey, can you send me, a manual if you have it? And then you can just kind of customize it for Townsend to cut down the process.
Thank you.
Next comment. Okay, stagnant accounts. Okay, special revenue. Bunch of accounts, maybe 40, 50 accounts, small dollars, but they do add up. And it looks like, Elizabeth, you've started working on those? Because I saw there was less than the prior year.
Mhm.
Okay, good. That's good to see, but it's kind of found money. What happens is you get gifts over the years, you set up revolving accounts, you get some grants, the department head leaves, retires. The new person comes in and doesn't know they have this money, so it accumulates, and then it accumulates to the next person, and before you know it, you got a little bit of money there that you call up, hey, the library or the DPW and say, hey, did you know you have $4,500 to spend on something? And so it's nice to see that some of that is being resolved. There was also three capital projects that total about 25,000, and you can repurpose those if you want at a town meeting to purchase something else.
I asked about the smaller accounts, and if I remember right, this was when we were doing trash, because I would have preferred to do that than stabilization. And I was told that we didn't have any, that there weren't any small accounts, found money, the piggy banks.
At the end of 24, there's three capital project fund balances that have been there for a
capital
bit.
projects we took care of. I think those are the three that we repurposed for facilities. But I was looking for the smaller ones that you're talking about. The ones that, I thought there were several of them that had 1,000 or maybe had 2,500. And I was told that there weren't any.
We have some in the 002 account, the special article account that we had sent Nelson. I think I gave him a report today that has some small ones in it with recommendations to close out. We closed a bunch of them out last year as well.
And when you close them out, what happens to
They
them?
go back to free cash.
Free cash, okay.
And who authorizes the closeout? Okay, I didn't see 'em.
I didn't either. Those were the piggy banks that I was talking about in a joint meeting with the.
So before we came on
Yeah.
this board? Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Yeah,
that was me.
All right.
Okay. The next comment deals with the chart of accounts and just, doing some sort of configuration to get it closer to UMIS. Right now, it's kind of, it's like a bastardized chart, and it's just difficult to follow, and it really doesn't follow the state accounting regs unless you're familiar with it. So someone new that comes in that tries to read it is going to say, "What's this?" Which is what we did the first year. Now we're used to it, but it may make sense to just configure it so it's a standard chart especially for special revenue. So. Not sure if that's been done. A lot of things are commingled. So it's difficult to follow, like I said. It may take a bit to get that done. Chart of account configurations are never simple. And then last on this list is the police detail account. So the police detail had a deficit balance of 37, and typically what happens is you do a detail, you pay the officer, but you don't collect the detail till a month later. So because you paid the officer, you have a deficit. So if you paid out, say, $5,000, you should have receivables of $5,000. It should offset. In your situation, you paid out $37,000, but the police chief could only offer $14,000 in receivables. So there's $23,000 that looks like somehow has accumulated into a permanent deficit. So that's something that probably needs to be taken care of. I believe the reason it happened is that there wasn't really a good accounting of this prior to 2022. And the police chief can really only look at what they've administered since they've come into play, the new police chief. So any of the old balances are lost; they're gone. So at this point, it may make sense to raise those remaining funds that I call a permanent deficit on the tax recount, because I don't think they exist. I don't think anyone's going to find them, and if you did, good luck billing them at this point.
Yeah.
So that's what I have. Were there any other questions or anything? Any of the documents we sent?
I have one. Sorry, but I do.
Okay.
It's on the federal award report, the extra audit that we have to do because of grants. On it's C, second to the last page, federal award findings and questioned costs, or it could be actually at the end, the $93,955. Is that the ARPA funds that were in the Affordable Housing Trust? So it's not even 100,000, it's 93,955 because some of the funds had been expended. Is that correct?
Can you read the whole finding to me? I don't work on the single audit. Someone else in my office does, but if you read that whole finding to me.
Okay, do you want the finding or the C, the federal award findings?
Read the finding that led to the 93,000.
Okay, this is C, federal award findings and questioned costs. C, 2024-002, U.S. Department of the Treasury, COVID-19, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, ALN 21.027. Significant deficiency in internal controls over compliance and other matter criteria. The compliance supplement identifies 4 key line items required to be reported to the federal awarding agency, which include 1, current period obligation, 2, cumulative obligation, 3, current period expenditure, and 4, cumulative expenditure. Per 2 CFR 200.1, an obligation is an order placed for property and services, contracts and subawards made, and similar transactions that require payment. Condition, obligations and expenditures were overstated by $93,955 on the March 31st, 2024 project and expenditure report. Cause, the town did not have a clear understanding of the reporting requirements and included amounts approved but not obligated as obligated and expended. Effect, the town is not in compliance with grant reporting requirements. Question, costs, none. Repeat finding from prior year. So is that the 100,000 that was obligated to the Affordable Housing Trust? And some of those funds have been expended and were in the accounting because there were accounts set up for it when it was obligated, and we and the Affordable Housing Trust put in a budget each fiscal year, and some of those funds were expended. So it's actually $93,955 rather than $100,000. Is that correct?
Did you talk to Paul about that, Elizabeth? That particular finding?
I believe it was Rob that worked on it.
It looks
And-
like it was a reporting error. When you did your periodic reporting, you put the wrong expenses into the report itself. My question would be, was it, based on what you just read me, my question would be, was it corrected on the next report?
So my
Because you
understanding, when Rob explained it to us, is we did not have the proper paperwork, which was called a subrecipient agreement, for the money that was voted to the housing trust.
Okay, so it is the affordable housing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was $100,000 that was initially appropriated, and the subrecipient agreement cannot be found.
So here's the question.
Okay.
Why is a subrecipient agreement needed for an entity that is part of the town? In other
That's a good
words,
question.
that is, and so I'm curious as to why that's the case. That's a separate question from the one that I was originally asking. I was asking about the amount $93,955 versus the $100,000 that I've been told all along.
Let me see if I'm calling Rob right now. Let me see if I can get him.
Okay, thank you.
They had the right form, the recipient agreement would have been $100,000.
Hey, Rob. Rob, I'm on the Townsend Zoom exit conference, and a question came up on something that you and Paul had worked on that I had not worked on. So we just want a little clarification on it. There was a finding and question cost in the single audit for $93,000 because there was a subrecipient paperwork missing. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, one of the participants in the call today is asking why they would need a subrecipient, paperwork if the Affordable Trust is part of the town. So that's the question.
It's because that basically, so it's an intermunicipal agreement that would be needed to obligate it, and because otherwise it wasn't obligated because it's a part of the town.
So is the intermunicipal agreement with the town itself, or is the trust considered separate here?
It would be with the trust, so it would be whoever's overseeing the housing trust that would need to be.
And the trust has a separate board of trustees, correct?
Yeah. Of which one is a select board member by requirement, by definition.
Yeah, so what Rob is saying is because it's a trust, so if it was like the police department, which is run by the police chief, then you wouldn't need a subrecipient agreement, but because it's set up as a trust and there's a document, filed at the Secretary of State's and there's a board of trustees, then you need a subrecipient agreement in this situation. Is that kind of what you're translating, Rob?
It's more or less to obligate the funds because they could do it with another department within the town too to obligate those funds. It's just because there were no actual contracts in place.
So, okay, that's why. Because there was no contract, so it's not an outside vendor. Because there's no contract, in order to obligate it with the town, the agreement would be needed within the town itself, is what we're suggesting there.
Okay, so then the follow-on question I have is, why is it $93,955 instead of $100,000? we did spend some of the Affordable Housing Trust did spend some of those money on staffing and training, et cetera. And the amount that was obligated in the initial report that went to the Treasury Department in 2024 was for $100,000. But the corrective action here is for $93,955. So the question is, why was it okay to spend some of those funds that were obligated? Why is that $93,955 instead of $100,000?
Okay, is it because part of it went into a different fiscal year? Do you recall this, Rob?
It's because a portion of the funds were already spent down. So once the funds get spent down, then they are considered obligated.
So
a portion of it had already been spent down in the prior year, or?
Yes.
Fiscal year and prior years.
Prior
Define
to December.
prior year. Fiscal year 23 or fiscal year 24?
I know a portion of it was spent down in fiscal 24. I'm not sure if there was any that would have been spent down in prior to that, but with the obligation, it would be anything for fiscal 24 or prior that was spent down related to the housing trust would be considered obligated.
Okay, so the fact that we had turned a budget into the town, there was $41,500 in that budget was for projects and things like that for professional services. And that was in the accounting. The fact that we hadn't spent it meant that it hadn't been spent down. I'm really confused as to how this was sort of obligated, but not exactly.
So for funds that were spent prior to December 31st of 2024, Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So we're actually going as of our report is based off of the reporting as of March 31st, 2024. So anything that was spent prior to that would be considered obligated under the housing authority. The remainder that wasn't spent would be unobligated.
So it had to have been spent as opposed to budgeted. In other words, there was a count in accounting that did have the whole thing there. And Mr. Costa, would you like to
So
speak?
under the Act, municipalities must have entered into contracts, subawards, or similar transactions that commit the funds prior to December 31st of 2020.
Like it had to be written agreement signed by both parties.
So budgeting it for a trust, budgeting it then wasn't sufficient.
So it becomes a question, I don't know what interpretive documents exist at the ARPA level. The language is contracts, subawards, or similar transactions. So if an expenditure occurred in the case of the few $1,000s you spent, then those monies are spent. So that's committed because it's been spent.
Okay.
If you have a contract, then that's committed because it's contracted. If you have a subrecipient agreement or subaward agreement, then that money is committed because you have that agreement in place. But then there's this other language or similar transaction. So I think your question is, one to which I don't have an answer, is this a similar transaction? Is submittal of some sort of a budget or some sort of a proposed list of future expenditures of those funds sufficient to constitute a commitment prior to December 31st of 2024? I don't know the answer to that.
Because we did have budgets that committed the entire amount. And they were turned in with the budget process both years.
It was 45,100, I think, the budget was for.
For the staffing, but there was also 41,500 for professional services.
The entire budget was budgeted for 45,100, and the rest was put into an account to gain interest.
Yes, and we budgeted 2 years in a row.
Okay, exactly.
And it was for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. No, it would have been 24 and 25. that we budgeted for, and there were accounts set up in the accounting office with numbers, and then the funds were placed in the account by the treasurer as specified in the bylaws. And so I am totally mystified by why these weren't actually committed. That's all. The subrecipient agreement was turned into the prior town administrator, probably got torn up because the decision was apparently that we, an entity of the town, is not a subrecipient. Like North Middlesex Cares is a subrecipient. TEO is a subrecipient.
And that was consistent with the advice that we had been consistently giving, that intra-municipal transfers didn't require subrecipient agreements. I think the rub here is that they didn't until this commitment deadline became a factor of December 31st, 2024, when you didn't have some sort of a commitment of the funds through an expenditure, through a contract, through a subrecipient agreement, even where one would not typically be needed. The money maybe wasn't deemed committed. Again,
Okay.
I still say I don't know that other transaction language, how it's been interpreted, but your statement's correct, that was consistent with the advice that we were giving to our community, that you didn't need subrecipient agreements if the money was received by the town and was being provided to an affordable housing trust or to the water department. Those are municipal entities.
I didn't even know how to answer some of the questions in that agreement because they didn't apply. Because we weren't a 501c3. So I just want that out there. And I also want it noted that the amount is not $100,000, but $93,955. That was budgeted but not expended in those 2 years.
Did you have a question, Elizabeth, or a comment?
I was going to say pretty much what the gentleman in the corner said. In filing for this, and we don't file for Townsend, there's you guys hired another entity to do that. But in filing for the ARPA funds, it clearly states in the SRF filing system there that you have to have contracts and we have to have them available to upload at any point in time, committing the funds. So when a contract is with a vendor, it was contracts or POs or however you were going to do it, needed to be in place and the money to be spent by I believe it's next December or soon thereafter. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but, and that was the reason for it. And I believe that when the auditor was in doing the audit and saw that we didn't have it committed, the suggestion was to get a subrecipient in place so that it wouldn't be a finding. But one wasn't able to be found or created in time for that.
So I think what we're saying is the fact that it's in a budget is not sufficient. There has to be some sort of document obligating it, a PO, purchase order, contract, commitment, something obligating it other than a budget. That's
So we lost those funds.
No, they're just kind of
you haven't lost them yet. I think this report just goes to the federal government. Then these are everywhere. These numbers are everywhere. I don't know how the federal government's going to even go through the millions of reports that are out
they
there.
don't have any people to look at it anymore anyway. So.
Honestly, yeah. There are towns that left millions on the table because they just didn't know how to do it. They weren't educated enough to figure it out. And I'll be shocked if there's a giant clawback. I will be shocked. So we'll see what happens.
Meanwhile, we'll let it float in an account that in 10 years they'll say, "What is this for?"
It's one of those one of those stagnant accounts, right? Yeah, one of those stagnant accounts.
Exactly.
So we still have the funds somewhere, but we can't
we
use
know
them.
exactly where the funds are. Those are not missing funds. So
No, I'm
anybody
not-
that
I'm not
states
saying-
they're missing is incorrect.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, so is it still in the trust? Are the funds in the trust? Because that's.
They were,
The town
as of a
voted.
month ago, they are sitting in the account that was established for us 2 years ago. We now
At the
have
moment.
the work with MHP that was being done that we had intended that money to be spent for. However, we didn't have to spend it because they had funds that were used for that purpose, kind of a grant, but not a grant that you get handed. So anyway, neither
So
here
now
nor
it's wait
there.
and see.
To answer the question, the funds are sitting in the special account that was set up at this time. I've asked them a bunch of times if someone can get some language or proof that they could still be obligated to the trust. We're happy to leave it there, but I don't recommend spending it if we don't have an answer to that yet, because we don't want to have to get it clawed back and then come. We have to,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions?
I have a question. So I just heard the accountant and Adam telling us that he was giving us advice. We were getting advice from a third party. We were getting advice from all these different places. And Elizabeth said that her company offered that service, so it would all be in one place. Why were we getting advice from all different places if we could have used our existing accountant and just worked with one place? Because it seems to me that there were too many chefs in the kitchen.
I'll answer that in a minute, but is Mr. Roselli still on to answer questions? If there
I'm
are
here,
other
yeah.
questions? Okay. Are there other questions on the audit? And then I'll come back to that question, Mary Jane. That was my only question on when I went through things. That was a question that I had, obviously.
Well, thank you, everyone. Glad to be here, and we'll talk to you again shortly. Elizabeth, we'll see you in our travels. And I'm going to turn the grill on and cook some steaks. Have a fun night and a fun meeting, okay?
Just a sec, so Jane, did you want to ask the auditor, or is that what you heard?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Happy grilling.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, so thank you, and a little history on CSS, Capital Strategic Solutions.
Which is?
The third-party company doing the
company that does the reporting for the town. There were two sets of funds that were COVID related. The first one were the Trump funds, the CVRLF funds. Those came in from the federal government, were given to the state, and then the state dispersed them to towns. Townsend got, don't quote me on it, but somewhere in the $600,000 to $800,000. And this was in 2020. There was extensive reporting that needed to be done. The Board of Selectmen hired CSS towards the end of that funding cycle, summer of 2021, to do the reporting because the town had made only one report and the third report was due. So we went out, we interviewed 3 vendors. One of them was Markham, I believe. I can't remember there were 3 of them. And CSS came back with a proposal that we accepted, and we used them to do our reporting and to expend. So this was in June, July timeframe that they were hired of 2021. Those funds had to be expended by October of 2021. The town did not expend all of those funds. We wound up sending back about $200,000 roughly, but CSS did the reporting. During that time, the Biden money came in, or in that general time period, and that was the ARPA funds. we got, I believe, 2,800,000. So as a town, we have done an excellent job of expending those funds in a short time period. There were specific things that those funds could be used for. Over time, the federal government changed the requirements, the rules. The rules changed fairly frequently, like every 4 to 6 months, there were new rules. And in any event, we continued to work with CSS on that because we already had an established relationship. They were in place doing the reporting for the town for the prior set of funds. The difference between the CVRLF, the Trump money, and the Biden money was that the Biden money came directly from the federal government to the town, no state involvement. So we didn't make reports to the state. All of the reports were directly to the federal government. And the monies came in, the first tranche came in August of 2021, I want to say. Might have been 2022. I'd have to look at my notes. But in any event, the first tranche came in, and the reporting on how it was supposed to be spent was to be done in January. And so there was a lot of work done in that October, November, December to figure out how that money was going to be spent. And then it came time to report, and they said, oh no, you don't have to report. But we had already committed the funds, so we stuck with it. The reporting then didn't have to happen until like the following October. So there was a lot of moving parts. And during that time, we had an interim town administrator. So we kept the relationship with CSS. Now, during that time, we had an interim accountant. It wasn't Katie. All right, our accountant left. This is why the reports hadn't been done and we were too behind, and the state was calling saying, why haven't you reported on your money? Because the CVRLF money had to be reported to the state. And that's how, so CSS came in, but we didn't have an accountant. So we had to hire an interim accountant, which we did do. And that accountant was in place. So there were a lot of moving parts, and it made the most sense and Markham, which was then whatever, and which is now CBiz, didn't
Lansing, yes.
And until the time that we lost our interim accountant that we had in place. That was Terry Walsh. She was our accountant during that time. And all of these funds, whether it was CVRLF or ARPA, you could use those funds for accounting. It's a major addition to the accounting department to have to do the work for these wonderful funds that are being handed to you, but it makes a lot of work. So CSS did the reporting for us. We added hours to the admin in accounting. Is it admin? Is that the official name? To Lee. Added hours because there was additional work that was needed to be done to record things. It is not a small proposition. So in any event, and we eventually got Katie after trying to hire a regular employee as an accountant unsuccessfully, and hiring, it was Markham at the time, I believe. Pardon me? Melanson, and then Markham, and now CBiz. So they didn't come in. CSS was in play first, and then Markham came in as our consultant, and then eventually we worked it out to where we would. So that's why we have three. There's nothing funky or, it's just how it
just sounds
evolved. And
yeah, I'm not accusing anybody of being funky. I'm just asking the question so I can get a picture of how the money got lost,
there was no money lost. I will reiterate that, because those words have appeared on Facebook. They are absolutely false, and anybody that's making those statements is totally irresponsible.
No money.
Can we turn the AC
Thank
on?
you, Katie.
Yeah, we don't mind the bush.
And hopefully,
Make a wish.
Elizabeth, appreciate all that, you were able to contribute tonight, really.
Thank you.
You can stay on, certainly.
Just for fun.
Okay, so at this
Okay.
time, we'll
Select
take
board meetings, everything.
How many hours?
take the opportunity to entertain a motion to adjourn
I make a motion to adjourn.
at 7:07 PM
Is
for
that
the
fun,
Finance
yeah?
Committee.
Okay.
Roll call. I'm sorry, just a voice vote, we're all here?
Dan Grant, yes.
Yes. Okay, we are.
And close audit, Dawn, close audit.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.
Okay.
Now we go to adjourn, I'll take a motion to adjourn the Audit Committee at 7:07 PM.
So moved. Second.
Thank you,
Second,
everybody.
sorry.
There's only two of us.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
These are good for reading.
Audit is adjourned.
Is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
No, I was just gonna move these
Have a good
chairs.
night.
No problem.
Thank you. Do we take a motion to accept the audit report?
A motion to accept the
accept the
report.
Audit report?
If we need a motion, sure, why not? Let's have a motion. Is there a motion to accept the audit report?
I make a motion to accept the audit report from Rosalie Clark and Associates
A second.
For fiscal year 2024?
for fiscal year 2024.
Second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion?
No, I'm good.
I would just like to thank you for all of your wisdom and all the history that you've shared. It's
Thank
very
you.
much appreciated.
But I can't hear.
Is there a roll call vote?
Veronica Kell, yes.
Probably good at Jess.
And Laura Schiffern, yes. Thank you very much. We are going to go now to 1.5 and review the minutes that we have sent to
Oh,
us.
right. The minutes for 4/8/2025.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the meeting minutes for 4/08/2025. Sorry.
No, I'm not, no, I wasn't here, so that's fine. I wasn't on the board yet.
I'm still not here. Jeez. This is the last one, right?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
Might be
How
one
many are
more.
left in April?
Yeah, end of April.
Seconded.
Seconded.
For discussion,
Yes.
I just want to say that I did make 2 clerical errors that I gave to Sabrina. I did note 2.
Okay. And I will say that I also made changes, but they were all,
No content.
there, no content.
Valerie seconded. All right,
And we've had our discussion that our edits were given to you,
all right.
and any other discussion? Hearing none, take a roll call vote.
Veronica Kell, yes.
Probably good at abstain.
And Laura Schiffern, yes. Minutes are
Thank
approved
you.
for April 8th. Okay, next we have, I actually need a motion from you regarding the, appointment of Jessica Fanioli. And that motion would be to have Nelson sign the town administrative signature on the permit.
Oh, yeah, that's.
We already moved.
Yeah.
I thought we already voted that
We
before we even started the joint meetings,
Oh,
because Jessica was right
You
here.
don't need to vote to have me sign that.
We voted to appoint her,
And then I
and then
sign
you
it.
just automatically sign.
because that's the
Okay.
process, yeah.
Okay, next we're on to the second reading of,
No, I thought 3.6, appoint Harrison as
Oh,
records
Harrison.
access.
yes, sir. Sorry about that, I forgot that inclusion. Not on purpose.
No, you did include, you did,
I included it, I
Yes.
just forgot to say it.
okay.
We're at 3.6 now. Is there a motion?
I moved to Quentin Harrison Mayor.
Oh,
How do you pronounce your last name, Harrison?
May I?
Yeah, sorry. I move to appoint Harrison Mayat as Records Access Officer, REO, effective 6/24/2025 until 6/30/2026.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Veronica Cal, aye.
Valerie British, aye.
Laura Schifrin, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harrison.
Since Harrison is here, could we move, 4.5 out of order?
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Sure, yes, please.
Yeah.
Then you can go home.
The work isn't done yet.
Never.
Sure. So regarding the election date, the earliest possible is still Tuesday, July 29th. That's an option. If the language for the ballot question is prepared tonight,
And with Adam, I didn't have time to talk to him about the language itself.
no problem.
So it's just been a whirlwind since he got here, and if we had taken it further out of order, he could have been here to review it and okay it, but
so if it's, let's say if it's reviewed tomorrow, the earliest possible election date would be Wednesday, July 30th. I don't know if we want to do a Wednesday or if we wanted to go to the following Tuesday, but there's flexibility as far as the options go at this point.
Memo I was preparing.
I prefer earlier dates only for us to have the results.
Yeah.
So that we can have time to.
So am I correct that we specifically amended this to include?
Yes, we did, and
tables.
it's not on here.
So the ballot question language, you can certainly answer this as well, but the ballot question language is pretty much prescribed by the DLS. The raising of the funds is the action that the ballot vote is taking. The appropriation was specific in nature, and that was the town meeting vote. So the ballot question is worded, it has to be this way to be legally.
In this meeting, so that everybody understands.
But many times there's an explanation to the question. Can that be inserted for the town vote?
I would defer to town council on that. My understanding is that it is very restricted by DLS as to what is allowed to be on the ballot.
But I've seen many ballot questions that have explanations. This is what it means if you vote yes.
Sure, that is my understanding, and I would defer again to town council, or if Nelson has a different answer, but there's a packet, Proposition 2.5 overview that the DLS puts out that is very particular about this.
Well, we certainly want to do what we voted on.
Right, and I agree.
And it includes the, all the line items and the amounts that go to those departments.
Per functional segment.
Per functional segment. And I think that should be on there, because if all that information doesn't get out to those who didn't watch the town meeting or attend the town meeting, that's not appropriate.
Show up to vote, you know.
It's not appropriate. This is for salaries, wages, and benefits specifically for certain departments. And that's what was explained, and that's what we voted, or the town voted.
I will talk to Adam. You know, us wanting to do something doesn't mean it can actually happen. So,
no kidding.
So, you know, I will certainly ask Adam if we can insert that language as an explanation, so to speak, of what this ballot question is.
As I've seen on other ballots. That's all I mean, I know that it's been done before. I've read them. It tells you what it means when you vote. And I just want the people to know that what it means for them to vote, yes or no on this.
I know Adam is taking a Zoom call here right now. If he's available for 5 minutes, do you just want me to get him to clarify that tonight?
I think that would be good.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And also, and I'm gonna state it now, because I want people to know that if the override passes, that's our budget, and we're not gonna be renegotiating any hours or reductions or anything. That takes care of the salaries, wages, and benefits to make us whole and not have to go through that process. And I want that on there. I want them to be able to read that and see that this is exactly what it's for. It's transparent. This is what it's for. And in my mind, it's going to be, in those budgets for the coming years. It's not gonna go to trash next year. It's not gonna do this, it's not gonna do that. I'm saying those words because that is my intent. We've gone through a lot since March 10th to come down this far. And the budget that we have approved last night has cuts in it. It not only has that 258 for cuts, it has all departments have cut expenses out of their budgets.
Yes.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
I
think
just
I've
wanted to
said
get
my
all of
piece
that
today.
out because that was the intent. And, you know, that's the message that should be out on Facebook and not all the other innuendos. Just the facts, ma'am.
While we wait for Valerie to try to get a hold of Adam.
We want the earlier date.
The dates. If we were able to get the language finalized tonight, then you said Tuesday, July 29th.
Correct.
If it's tomorrow, it will be Wednesday, July 30th, and
correct.
so on and so forth.
Oh, because you're still working tonight, you can take it in.
Well, yeah, I can, I mean, I'm physically here, I could be receiving it at the moment, is, you know, that's
meeting
possible.
that, I just left it and see if you can stop by.
Okay.
So we'll,
I'll be downstairs, I'll hop on the Zoom, so you just call me back up if Adam has further comments, or
Okay.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harrison. So do we need a motion to
The date,
for the dates?
No.
Or do we want to wait until we see what Adam says,
well, the date is kind of
separate from?
what's added to that ballot, correct?
Well, so the reason the date is relevant to the ballot question is the state law prescribes that I must receive the final ballot language 35 days prior. And the 35th day is allowed, so 35 days from today, including today, would be July 29th.
so that's really what it is.
So we'll wait until.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
But we should make a decision tonight,
Yeah.
Yes,
because otherwise,
Yeah.
we wait a week, it just pushes
Yeah, of
things
course.
Well, if we can get the ballot language, I think we should have the vote on Tuesday, the 29th.
Absolutely.
yeah, me too.
And if not, how do you guys feel about Wednesday, the 30th, or?
If this language, you reviewed this with Harrison, and this is the language that would be allowed, not what I stated,
Yeah, exactly, that is what would be,
per whatever law,
yeah.
DSL, DLS, whatever you said.
I like Lori's idea of having a note that explains, you know, even if we can't put it in the question, a note that says the salaries and wages will be applied to the following functional segments of the government.
And on our website. It should be on our website as an explanation as well.
Yes,
The town website.
it would be nice if it were on the ballot.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be part of the question necessarily, but the little explanation
Yes,
underneath.
correct. We could print the ballot with the explanation as well.
I think that's the question, is can we put it on the ballot itself?
Yeah.
Okay, and if not, we could print,
I don't think we're allowed to give anything else out.
by law, we can't
So-
explain it?
I don't think you're allowed to give additional things with the ballot.
Oh,
Because it,
Swaying, you know, it's information presented, you know,
oh,
the
God
whole.
forbid you have the whole story in order to vote.
You can stand out on the street corner though, with,
With my explanation?
yeah.
We can't do that, because that's considered campaigning.
yes, that's exactly right.
It's a
So,
political
okay.
activity. That's not, and that is not allowed.
So,
But what we're talking about would be political activity if it's an explanation of how the funds are going to be spent. That's not a political activity, that's just
No.
an explanation. So if someone were to ask you, what is this for? You can say it is for these particular functional segments, because that's not an opinion, that's just information.
Yeah, but we can have that on our website. We can have the explanation of where that money's going on our website. That's not political.
With what Valerie just said, yes, that
Yes.
much of an explanation, the answer is yes.
And I would just state, all we need to state is the motion that was accepted at town meeting was this.
Was this?
And whatever that wording is I would say that should be someplace, so that even if it's not on that ballot, this is what, because that's what we budgeted.
Mhm.
That was what was stated.
And
From what I
that was
understand, and
the,
I'm open to correction if I'm wrong, but that's how I understand it.
yeah, and that was the amendment
Yeah.
that we made last night to the question.
Yeah,
In order
So-
to specify it so people felt more comfortable with it,
Yeah.
which I completely can
And
appreciate.
the amendment
Yeah,
was
me too.
accepted.
Yeah, and that was a very, I thought that was a very good amendment.
Okay. Hopefully everybody watches this so they get the explanation.
So our vote will be the 29th of July, unless we can't get the wording, in which case it will be what date?
Probably following day.
The 30th,
Yeah,
even though it's a Wednesday? I mean, we've had Monday votes. A town
Saturday
vote is
votes.
always Mondays. We've had Saturdays, so.
I'd say just
Sabrina
no,
has a question,
no.
Laurie.
no weekends in the summer.
Madam Chair,
yes,
would it be too late to the vote on the ballot question for the Selectboard meeting?
Yeah.
And put that up?
That's too late.
I mean, I'm even inclined to have a second backup date, Thursday,
August 1st.
just
August
that
1st.
week. Has to be that week.
Oh, no, actually, no, it's just July 31st. That's July has 31 days.
So should we say either the 29th or the 31st? Is that what you're saying? Or the 29th, 30th, or 31st?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, because.
Okay.
Yeah,
if-
all
because-
three. Yeah, I wouldn't leave them there. Oh, why? Did you say
Okay.
that?
So depending on when the ballot language can be vetted
Yeah.
by town council.
Sorry.
All right, so should we make that motion?
Sure. We just want to wait and see if
he comes back.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
not, we can
Yeah.
address it at the end of the meeting, because if we have a concrete date, I would like that to be said in the meeting.
Yes,
Yes.
good idea. Okay,
And you can get an absentee ballot,
yes,
remember to everybody, because I know a lot of people are on vacation.
yes.
Please go
They
get,
cannot or they can?
They can.
please
Okay.
go get an absentee ballot.
So that should be out there as well, that if you're gonna be on vacation the last week in July, please get an absentee ballot for the override.
Contact the town clerk.
Contact the town clerk. Can I have a second reading now?
Sure.
4.1 on the rodenticide
Rodenticide.
policy.
I'm getting good at this one, the second, right? This is the second reading of the rodenticide policy, policy number 05/2025. Replace policy not applicable, rodenticide policy. 1.0 purpose. Certain rodenticide products, widely known as second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides or SCARs, are used to control rats and/or mice, but have been clearly demonstrated to be harmful to non-target predator species. This causes harm to our larger ecosystem, and the secondary poisoning of natural predators of the target pests can have a counterproductive long-term impact on rodent control efforts. Whereas the town of Townsend is committed to reducing unnecessary wildlife poisonings and potential harm to pets and children, this policy aims to specifically codify the application and use of SCARs at properties under the care and control of the town of Townsend. 2.0 applicability. This policy applies to all town-owned property, including buildings, grounds, parks, and open spaces, and to the extent permitted by law, including MGL Chapter 132B, shall be adhered to by all employees of the town of Townsend, as well as third-party vendors and contractors providing services at town-owned property. 3.0 definitions. 3.1 rodenticides. A subclass of pesticides defined under the Massachusetts Pesticide Control Act, General Law, Chapter 132B, as substances or mixtures of substances intended to prevent, destroy, repel, or mitigate rodents that are declared to be pests by the Massachusetts Pesticide Board. 3.2, second generation anticoagulant rodenticide. Rodenticides developed to control rodents that are resistant to first generation anticoagulant rodenticides and contain compounds that interfere with blood clotting and cause death from excessive bleeding, while also remaining in animal tissues for an extended period of time. These products currently include, but are not limited to, those products containing bromophagoum,
Yes, that's it.
bromadiolone, diphenylcorum, and diphenolone. Use of 4.0, use of SCARs. The use of SCARs on town-owned properties is hereby prohibited as of the effective date of this policy. 5.0 waivers. Emergency waivers for the use of SCARs on town-owned property may be obtained from the Select Board. Emergency waivers shall be restricted in time and location and shall only be granted after a well-documented request detailing a significant rodent infestation of public health consequence that has already exhausted all viable, less toxic integration pest and rodent management practices. 6.0, public education. The town of Townsend shall periodically provide public information and education for town personnel and the general public about rodenticide hazards to the ecosystem and human health, as well as information and education on integrated pest management alternatives. I think that's it. Adopted 6/24/2025. It's being signed, it's now correct.
So we need a motion.
Motion to approve the policy.
I'm motion to approve the rodenticide policy as read.
And I will second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No.
Do you want us to sign this one, Sabrina, or?
Yeah.
You got it, yeah.
All right.
I have it.
Well, we need to vote.
Yeah. Roll call.
Brian Kikau, yes.
Goodrich, yes.
Laura Schiffern, yes.
Excusing the meeting.
Is he gonna call you?
No, I'd left him a note on it, that if we have
he's
5
here.
minutes to stop back. Yes,
He's still here.
he's taking
Okay.
over here.
Okay, 4.3, review, approve health administrator's vacation rollover request. Is there a motion? I was on a bit of that. I would like the, okay, go ahead and make the motion and then I'll add what has to be added.
I move to approve the health administrator's vacation rollover request to roll over 120 hours to FY26.
Second for discussion?
Second, Veronica.
Second for discussion.
Okay. I had a conversation with Nelson about this earlier, as to how this is verified. I mean, we're approving something, and so there must be somebody who approves the amount of hours or knows the hours or whatever. So if that is the treasurer accountant?
Treasurer collector, yeah.
Treasurer collector?
Yeah, so we use a software called Harper's, which does our timesheets as well as keep track of all our accrued time, so that's vacation, personal, and sick.
Okay.
So it's all online in the system, so the system tracks it for us. So it's pretty prescribed in terms of what someone's available hours are. So in this instance, let's just say I'm making a number. You approve that you carry over 200 hours. Well, she doesn't have 200 hours to carry over, so you're not. This vote wouldn't magically give someone extra hours that they don't have.
Well, my thoughts are we are not the end all here. We don't have the final say. And that I ask that we add to this that subject to treasurer collector approval.
Or verification
or
of
verification
the available hours.
Is
by the
this,
treasurer
What
collector.
union? This is,
I was gonna ask, is this a personal services contract or union?
Union.
So is there language in the
There is.
union contract on vacation rollover?
There is,
There
and
is.
I'll read it for you, so it's, for the record.
Should that language be added to the motion?
Not necessarily. Let me just read it here. Vacation time awarded as of July 1st must be used prior to the following July 1st or be lost, except for 2 weeks, which may be carried over to the next year. No other exceptions shall be allowed except under extraordinary circumstances and with the approval of the Board of Selectmen.
So that would be considered 60 or 80 hours?
In her case, it's around 75 hours because she's not a 40-hour employee.
she's at 37.5 then?
Yeah, correct. So she's
But
requesting.
this is 120.
The last sentence was the extraordinary circumstances, I think, is the appeal. Because of the.
Yeah. So 2 weeks can automatically get carried over. She has more than 2 weeks worth of vacation accrued. So.
So is this 120 over the 2 weeks?
Looks like she's just asking for 50 additional hours to be
120 minus 75. It's 45 hours.
So it's just one extra week, basically, is what.
Well, more than that, yeah.
Oh, Carla's on.
Carla, did you want to speak to your hours? Can't hear you. We can't hear you. Can you hear us?
Can't hear you still.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay,
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Do you want to speak to your hours? We're just trying to make sure we insert the proper authority to approve. Or
Sure.
if I said it right.
So I have 150 hours of vacation time that I have not taken this year. And we can roll over 75 hours, but I have 50 hours that needs to be taken by the end of this month. And with everything that's been going on with the trash and recycling program and the town meetings, I just haven't been able to take it. So I was respectfully asking if the selectmen would allow me to roll over that 50 hours into the next fiscal year.
Okay, and I think we would certainly do that. Is it the treasurer collector then that would have the exact number, and that's how she would get paid?
She can even log on to Harper's at the moment, and it will tell us exactly how many hours she would have. But yeah, we can either have Carla check it, or we can have the treasurer collector verify.
My question is only coming from, what should the language be in the motion that we make? Because we are not the one checking it. That's my only question. So I give it up to you guys.
Well, my question is more of a concern of how many people have more than their hours available to them.
Well, people need to understand what their contract states, and they need to keep track of their vacation hours.
I know all the contracts are different, and individual services contracts have different.
Right, but you as the individual should be looking at your own contract that pertains to you. No one else is sort of looking out for you, so you have to keep track of it yourself. And Carla has done that, and I applaud her for that. Most people are well aware of how many vacation hours they have to expend by the end of the fiscal year. And if they have overlooked it, I'm not sure who's the one to sort of police that or, assist in that activity. So, I don't think situations like this really come up too much. Most people do end up trying to take as much vacation as they can. But that's not to say there hasn't been situations where people have probably lost out on time. It happens. But you have to look at your individual contract to see if there's a way of rolling over more. My contract had it, and remember I asked you for additional hours to be rolled over because I was cognizant of my contract and how many hours I have accrued. So it's really up to the individual to keep track of those things.
What's your pleasure?
The ask is for 120 hours. I'm good with rolling over 3 weeks, which would be 112.5.
No, it's the 50. It's the 50 hours.
So it's the above
She
the 2
gets
weeks.
it anyway. She gets 2 weeks anyway.
Anyway,
She's
rolled over.
Yeah.
Okay, so 75 rolled over, so 37.5.
It's 50 hours.
50 hours is what's above the
2 weeks.
So we're rolling over more than an additional week.
Which is what's
just over.
Correct. I think you guys should approve it. Carla has, this new trash program really kind of added a wrinkle to her, plans for June. So there's simply not enough days.
It's added a wrinkle to a lot of us.
I know, but certainly Carla, because she is, sort of the main point of contact to administer this new program. Getting the sticker program up and running, talking to Shaw's, figuring out all those details. So I think the select board should approve the 50 hours that she's requesting to roll over.
contingent upon review by the treasurer collector.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's the one that hands out the money, and that's the only thing that I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Because we're not writing the check. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Motion to approve the 50 hours over, subject to the treasurer
Collector review.
Is there a motion?
There is a motion.
There was a motion on the floor.
Oh.
And I amended the, to add that sentence about the treasurer.
All right.
But so, I guess what we say, are we saying the vacation will over 120 hours? Or are we saying
do we need to say the 120 or are we saying the 50? Because you're getting the
2 weeks.
You get 2 weeks anyway.
The 75 has already been requested to be rolled over. So there's 50 right now.
So I would think.
Okay, so the additional 50.
So I would just say the additional 50 instead of 120 because it seems like we're adding 120.
Yeah.
If there's already the 75.
So
okay.
Sabrina has.
I would ask to amend the motion to read, I move to approve the health administrator's vacation rollover request to roll over 50 additional hours to FY26 pending treasurer collector approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Aye.
Laura Schiffern, aye. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your hard work.
It's a process. We have a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah. Okay, so that was 4.3. Discuss results of annual and special town meeting. I'd like to thank everybody that we ended up with a budget, be it a cut budget, what we did, and also a vote to go for an override for the salaries, wages, and benefits. And again, I will state that if the override passes, there will not need to be any negotiating, cutting hours, or anything like that. You will get what we would have expected you to get this year. And that, for the most part, is whatever your contracts allow and what the unions allow for this coming fiscal year. Any other comments regarding the annual and the special?
No. I think everything's considered.
We appreciated the dialogue. I know that it took an hour and 15 minutes to finally get to discuss the budget. But it was certainly interesting to see. And for many of you, you might want to check out the YouTube of the meeting, and hopefully you will come out and support the town employees with the override. And there's no other comments from anyone? Did you have any comments regarding the meetings? Okay. 4.5, discuss potential town election dates. Well, we already did that. We're at
waiting
that point.
Do we want to go into 4.6 and see
Yeah.
about him?
Yeah.
He's on a 7 to 8 Zoom, he said, here, because he
Okay,
couldn't
fine.
drive to it, so.
Okay, very good. We appreciate
I hope.
his attendance here. Collaborative regionalization opportunities between Townsend, Ashby, and Pepperell.
This is me.
Or, go ahead.
Go ahead. Do you want me to start or?
Start, yeah, because I don't know what you're gonna say.
Okay,
I know what I
so-
would say.
I'm putting this out there because, and this is up for discussion, it's not something I'm like proposing, I want to discuss with you guys. I know Nelson discusses with the town administrators when opportunities come up for potentially sharing things with Pepperell and Ashby. Because of this, how connected we are in the budget, because of our relationship to the school, I'm wondering if it is prudent to make a formal letter from the select board to the select boards of those towns, because it's one thing for the town administrators to be talking amongst themselves, but just so those select boards have that willingness from us in this budgetary process going forward, for when those opportunities come up, that we would like to discuss them. This is just my thoughts, because we all have really tight budgets, and in examples of we've seen them come up this year, and the discussions have been had. Can we do this together? Could we do this? I think those discussions would be really nice to have as they come up. Though I'm not married to Townsend, Ashby, and Pepperell. It could be surrounding communities. It could be regional, like we do in Neshoba Board of Health. It could be those types of things. But I'm just wondering if it's worth us reaching out to our immediate neighboring select boards who we share school with formally. That's what I'm wondering.
I think it's a good idea to do it from the select boards to select boards. I think it might strengthen that possibility of doing something. I know there's a fire chief position open in
There's a police chief
Pepperell
in
now.
Ashby.
Yeah.
I think, is that correct? Am I wrong there? Not police chief, was there?
There's a fire chief position in
Pepperell.
Pepperell, okay.
Yep.
I don't know about anything in Ashby.
No, I'm
but,
sorry, I was mistaken in my language.
But I think it would be a good idea to approach that way as well.
Just so that, Nelson has and also those select boards have our intentions. It's totally just a thought.
No, it's not a new thought. I have never been in the select board position before like Veronica has, but I've seen enough select board meetings. I used to attend them all in one form or another. And I also know that, I don't know if it was done while you were on, if any reach out was done, but I think that when I was tried a few years ago, and they went to regionalization of the dispatch. it was not taken well. The response time was not good. And for that, I think our fire anyway went back to their own number. You can call their own number now.
You can?
Oh, yeah.
No, well, we have Patriot now. So we switched from the one that we were on at Devon's. And there's a process for that. That took a couple years to change from the first to we're Patriot now. And that was a new system that was determined a couple years ago.
And that's not based out of the Pepperell?
It's out of Pepperell now, yes.
And it's on the side in front of the police department, Patriot.
Yes. So, and I think that's much better. I didn't know that you called the fire station directly. I thought it went through Patriot. I'm pretty sure it does.
They have a number. They have a number you can call.
Well, a local number.
Yeah.
But it's not dispatch necessarily.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but.
And I'm not saying there's not going to be, like, that this is going to be easy, but I'm just saying because of our budget situation.
And Patriot started out just being Townsend, Ashby, Pepperell.
Yeah.
You know, that not all the towns that are in the part of I can't remember what it's called, Devon, but it was at Devon's. And I think there are more towns now that are part of Patriot than what was originally planned. But I think the idea of starting with the 3 towns is a good one.
I'm open to it. I mean, I think it's a good idea too, depending on what our needs are and if we can complement each other and help.
So do you want to draft the letter?
Problem, Joe, bring it for next week?
And if you have the time. Yeah. Okay.
Next Tuesday, yeah. Then I'll run it by Nelson.
Okay.
Should I run it by town council? Or?
No,
It's informal.
It's informal.
Yeah.
And it's nothing binding by any means. But I think
Yeah,
it's
we have to look for other avenues.
Yeah, I know that I've personally been, you know, when we had to make those salary wage, I said to myself that I really think we should take every opportunity to see where we can, because I don't think it's gonna be better, easier next year. So if there's anything we can do to, you know.
It's not gonna be easier next year.
Yeah, to help each other out.
We're already really planning for next year.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, I think that's a good idea. So yeah, draft the letter. And I think we should talk about, well, this is for future, talk about goals. And I think that
Yes.
this regionalization, where we can, having those discussions could be one goal. I think that we need to look at policies and financials, which we've already talked about some.
Economic
Is
development.
another.
We need that.
Well, we do need that, but are we there yet? I mean, there's that smaller, that you go to, those meetings. Do you go to the meetings?
Oh, I'm not
No.
going to those meetings anymore.
You aren't going to the
the
meetings
small
anymore?
town.
The small town collaborative.
So the first one got canceled. The last one was, we were all meeting. Oh, we were at
Your first one.
No, we were
at
at a
Devon's
training.
Oh,
So I
okay.
haven't been to the
Yeah.
first one.
So, I think that's certainly a goal to participate, but I don't know if there's anything. If we're gonna do economic development, I'd like to revisit this is on we can put this on agenda, but
Yeah.
revisit the RFP that we had for the library and the old fire station.
I think we need to have a goals
Okay.
session.
I mean, I would like to revisit that.
I think that's, it's related to this, but we need to have a goals working session
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
set those. Do we have a time frame to set goals, do you think? End
In
of July?
End of July. I think it
By
should
the
be
end of
on one
July.
of our agendas, yeah. So,
And because that will feed into the budget process for next year.
right. So, okay.
Right.
So that's settled. Is that all that was for 4.6?
That was all.
I don't think we need a motion until we have the letter.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, 5.1, town administrator updates and reports.
I only have one, and it actually came in, last night while we were at, our annual town meeting. Our Property liability insurance company, Braley Wellington, informed us that our increase for next year is only 5.9% versus the 10% that actually they were suggesting a few months ago. They were actually suggesting 10 to 15%. So 5.9 is a welcome increase.
What does that translate to?
Well, if I could pull up the budget.
They're thinking, well, let me just take a look at what I had here.
So they didn't give you a number, they just gave you a percentage?
Oh, no, they gave me a number. So I think it's about just under $18,000 in savings, if you want to call it that. But here I want to preface by saying that that is during the upcoming fiscal year. Sometimes there are changes that actually does result in increases. If you recall, was it at the January meeting? We had to free up free cash for the workman's comp.
Right.
So
that was the audit, the workman's comp audit.
yeah. So these insurance companies routinely do audits or review our claims, and if they are sort of above and beyond what their baseline was a few months ago when they gave us the quote, they will now send us a bill for an additional amount. So
I'm wondering if we updated that the property list that was discussed in the audit, that it's the capital, that I wonder if we, as a town, got that list updated. I'm looking for where this is, because I know exactly what the list is because of audits from prior years. This isn't the one I marked up, so I might not be able to find it so quickly. But the current inventory listings, do those get sent to the liability insurance, the property?
they
company?
do have a list of our assets. I don't know the list that
Because if you don't
Roselli.
have some of that stuff, it should be removed.
I don't know if the list that Roselli has is reconciled with that we send to the property liability company.
That would be good to know.
We can do a deep dive into it, and if there are pieces of equipment or vehicles that we no longer own, we can remove from the list, and that may very well result in some savings. I don't think it's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, no.
But it could be in the
$1,000 would be nice at this point.
right. So that is
take 5,000.
Yeah. So that's an exercise that we can do. We'll pull the list from the liability company, sift through it, send it out to all the departments for them to just clean it up.
Yeah.
And then send that new list back. But I mean, have we kind of done that recently or every year?
With the renewal, there has to be a list sent out to the insurance company.
Right.
And that was done.
But where is that list, and who vets it to make sure that it is current?
We
did.
send it to the various departments. We send it to the various departments too.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell us if there's been any additions or deletions?
Then that's something that could be looked at with the one in the audit.
Yeah.
Because that audit list, if I remember right, it had like all sorts of stuff in it. Any little thing that's in any little department. Anyway.
So yeah, the increase was certainly less than what we were predicting. Honestly, what they were even predicting, which is great. So we'll just have to see if they send us a surprise bill during the fiscal year when they do their audits.
Mega usually comes in later. The mega bill.
Mm-hmm. Like November, December, January.
After their audit, they will.
Okay.
Haven't been in the year.
Okay. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind, and we'll have a little bit of a cushion because we're above it this year. You guys did a municipal reserve fund transfer
For that,
for
yeah.
that. So yeah, so we'll keep the the cushion there in case something happens. And I think that was the only update I had for the board tonight.
What about, the accountant?
I shared with you their quote, correct? It was 12 grand.
I thought you were gonna go back and get a more definite one, the one that we talked about last week.
Oh,
Services.
oh yes, so I did speak to them. They didn't change the numbers, but we kind of just spoke about what level service they can provide and for how long.
Is there an itemized list of what they do? There was a matrix that Eric had, that this is what the accountant does, and this is what the consultant does. And now the consultant has to do everything on that list.
Right, they did provide a scope of services. I will send that off to you guys to review. I don't have what.
Can we put that on the agenda for next week?
Yeah,
Because we
isn't
need
it
to have
as of
this
the 9th?
settled. Pardon me?
She's gone on the 9th?
Yes. We meet on the 1st, and I think we need to have it settled before.
Right, on the 1st.
Yep. And as you know, you certainly don't need to agree on a long-term solution. The short-term solution is having CBIZ for July, August, and September to, this is kind of the busy season for them to actually close out the year, FY25, and then prep the tax recap to be submitted to DOR in the November, December timeframe. So once October hits, things are going to sort of, the activities are going to sort of taper off a little bit. And then, you know, between now and then, we can decide, do we want to just keep CBIZ on for the whole year, which I believe will equal to 90,000 for FY26.
Including the closeout of the fiscal year 25 and setup of FY26?
Yes.
So that 90,000 number includes the entire fiscal year.
Correct. But while that is pretty much kind of what we had budgeted, if you look at CBIZ and the assistant town accountant, you add those two up,
Correct.
It's right around the $90,000 area. Right. But now what you're losing is you don't have a person in-house, you know, 4 days a week, you know, to if there's questions or concerns to bounce off of them. You know, you have essentially a person that's virtual. So I think the level of service isn't quite there.
You can still call them.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, you know, the availability just isn't the same as just popping downstairs, you know, to talk to the assistant town accountant. So
I'd like to see the scope of services and the numbers associated.
Okay, I'll send that for the board to review.
And we could put it on a discussion for next week.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned before, you know, we should consider what we want to do long term. Do we want to sort of keep CBIZ as the official town accountant and have a assistant town accountant that's, you know, in person? Or do we kind of go try to find a full-blown town accountant to
And
do
is this
everything?
related to potential combination of efforts?
Yeah.
Maybe so, and I would like to see internal policies documented as stated in the, and I really would like to see that before we have an accountant. 5-year period, I can go through what has happened in accounting. And again, we thought 2 years ago that there was a permanent solution, an in-house solution with and there isn't. And so I am not inclined to try to come up with an in-house solution. I am more inclined to go with a consultant because we've had to have a consultant anyway, is what it comes down to. And
Yeah, I think part of our initial goals.
Sabrina has a question too, but go ahead.
Madam Chair, would it be possible to have daily communications and questions and answers for the departments incorporated in the scope of services? As an additional service that's not already listed under the scope of services.
Yeah.
And then people can reach out via email and phone calls and so for clarifications.
I'm looking right now to see if they propose such a level of service.
But also, before we go permanent, we need to have the policies in place. And whether we get MMA in here, or we get their manual that they have, and we look at it and see if that applies to us.
I'll go back, but I think it might have been DLS that provides that service now.
I'm gonna check on that and maybe look at that for next Tuesday. Because I really think we have to get on that. And it's not asking to reinvent the wheel, and neither was Tony.
No.
You know, find the wheel and insert how it fits in your town.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think the occasion maybe as a flat fee that we have a town council.
Say that again?
Flat fee.
Flat fee, like,
Their proposal is like monthly. It's a monthly fee.
Seeing that it's after 8 o'clock, I want to mention this. There's several clocks in town hall. None of them have the right time.
Okay.
None of them.
That one is accurate.
It's 8:03, it matches my computer.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, 8:03.
Mine's 8:04. My watch is 8:04. So it's always been the minute off. But anyway, for seeing what I saw in town hall, if you go down to the meeting room 2, it's a different time. Is there some way that can be fixed?
Yeah.
Facilities?
I can talk to facilities to sync everything up.
Because I'm sure that maybe Adam's still looking at the same clock.
Well, he's on a Zoom call, so.
Yeah, it's hard to say when it's gonna close out.
It was for the council. It could have happened.
So, anyway, that's
Okay.
kind of the minutes that I asked. Yeah. Okay, and
Yeah, I didn't have anything. Oh, yeah.
Here it is, accounting services worksheet. This is from way back when.
Is that what they provided or what we wanted?
I think this is probably what, I don't know the answer to that question exactly, but what the town would do versus what the accounting firm would do. It's called Accounting Consulting Services Worksheet, and it should be in Eric's stuff. Maybe Ross's from the first round with Ross. And then I have a Melanson contract here as well. So this was pretty old. This was probably when Terry was leaving. So it was, in any event.
Oh, actually, I do see it in Ross's. Is that this worksheet right here?
That is it.
Yep.
Yep. And then Eric took it and it went year by year by year. I don't have the Katie stuff because Katie came in right around the time that I was leaving. It was April of 23. And so he kind of split it out so that for each year, Katie would pick up more, the consultant would drop. That, and there was a worksheet for that. And that would be in Eric's stuff.
Okay.
And then there was a contract.
Okay, I think the decreasing CBIZ and increasing the assistant town accountant scenario certainly wouldn't apply at the moment.
No, it doesn't apply, but I'm thinking of, as far as, well, anyway, I guess it doesn't matter, you're right. We just need all those services that are delineated in that XLS. It doesn't matter fiscal year, you're right.
Okay. I'll take a look at it, see if there's anything in their proposal that doesn't jive with our worksheet or our checklist.
Making sure that all of those things are incorporated in their scope and services,
Right.
I think is.
Yeah. Understood.
So, all right.
Okay, Val, do you have any reports on your?
I'll just say from the library that summer reading is starting up. Everybody go out, register for summer reading, lots of prizes available, and there's events throughout the summer, concerts,
Which I attended.
acrobats. Look on their website, there's so much to do this summer over there. If you're sitting around, it's also cool in that building,
Yeah.
so go over, bring your stuff, find an event for kids and adults, so have fun.
I was going to announce because they stated it Friday night. I did go to the concert, 60s and 70s, 50s and 60s. Anyway, I was right at home. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. Nice crowd. I actually put up a few reels with some of them singing and showing all the people that were there on their lawn chairs. It was really nice. They did state that they will be a cooling station for this whole week during their business hours, I guess. If you don't have air conditioning, you can go to the library, senior center. And my understanding is that TEO is supplying water and snacks for this week during that time. So that's it. Veronica?
I'll have some stuff next week because we meet on Thursday for the Housing Trust and the CR committee. There is an encroachment thing, but we'll talk about that on Tuesday. So I'll do it under liaison reports. And then we can decide what we want to do. There's a shed on the property, the Swanfoot Meadows property, that needs relocated. So anyway, so there's that. A couple other things, and I think this might be for our next meeting more than anything. So really, I haven't done anything beyond that. I mean, town meeting liaison stuff, but nothing beyond that. But I do want to talk about a couple other things for our next meeting. Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah.
I think we should review the media policy and consider hiring a public relations firm for a front-facing discussion, or, should the town get called for a statement by a radio station or a TV station or a newspaper. I mean, we can always no comment it, but there is a media policy. And I think we should discuss that media policy. I know the police station uses John Guilfoyle as their public relations person. I'm not exactly sure who the fire station uses, but they do have one designated.
And do each of those do their page on Facebook? Because they both have postings.
I'm not sure about that. I can't answer that. I believe that
official.
They're
officials,
but they are, and I do think that it's front-facing, that the public relation firm at the police station at least does do that. I'm not sure about the fire station.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Look into it, yeah.
But I think we should have a discussion of the media policy and a public relations firm going forward. I think it's a good idea for us, for the Select Board.
Okay, can you put that in next week's agenda as well for further discussion?
I also, and I don't know if this is the place for it, but appointing Jessica means that we have an opening. And I'd like to discuss requirements of that position.
Next week?
It's a union position, so I don't know the best format for that. So it may be an executive session. I don't know, but I have some ideas.
Yeah, she's resigned now.
Yeah, it's a union position. My understanding is that the town clerk appoints it. However, as far as the duties goes, I think that goes to us. It was part of the Collins Center, or the report for positions, the job descriptions. So I would like a review of the job description, and I don't know the best way to do that.
HR would have the most up-to-date one, and then it would be for the board to look at what's currently in it, and if there's any changes to be made, I think we need to.
If it's a union contract, does the select board sign it?
Yes.
The union contract, the contract for that position?
Do we discuss the changes
in an executive session?
There is no contract for that position.
It's a town position that is governed by the supervisors union. That position is in the supervisors union. And my reason for doing this is just because of the volume of public records requests that are being received right now. I just think that having the town clerk, I just think we need to talk about this before we have a town clerk who can't even do dog licenses because there is no time. And so that's all I'm saying. I think we need a discussion to that. I think that if we want to bring the town clerk in to discuss it with us, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
I just think we need a discussion around that position.
For next week regarding that position, and Nelson, find out whatever you can for us beforehand. If you want Callie to come in.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Yeah.
And have a discussion of that position. So my 4 things were accountant, public relations, the media policy, the assistant town clerk, discussion of the position, and the goals for the town. Those are the 4 things that are of immediate priority to me.
If we're talking about priorities, I would add one more that I've been getting a lot of feedback on, is for us to review our public comment policy. And I know that's difficult.
Have you talked to town council about that?
Yes, I think a lot of people need some clarification because, we don't have to review right now.
That recommendation came in right around the time that, because we always had public comment, right around the time that my term ended in 2023. It was.
I know, and so other towns have put newer policies in place after that recommendation. So I think it.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I think I would like to discuss.
I thought we were advised against it.
That's why town.
But not to never do it, but our policy is no longer applicable because of the ruling. Our current policy.
We're going to review policies. Yeah.
So there's a Massachusetts Supreme Court ruling. It was discussed during our training.
Yeah.
About the public comment policy.
Oh yeah.
And how there was a town. There was a contentious meeting, and the state said your public comment policy cannot say anything about decorum. It can't say anything about.
How was that?
It's the state Supreme Court said.
You have to look at the case.
So, but I
it
think
was settled in the spring of 2023.
I think there's a way we could have a policy. I could bring other examples from other towns since then. Get some policies that our legal counsel has helped develop. Just because right now we don't have, our policy is kind of void. So I think we should have some policy. Even if we all agree it's nothing, that it should be something.
And we had all agreed that this is going beyond that, to review the policies and get those up to date.
But I think that one would, I would just like to
Yeah,
raise to the
that
top.
would be
if
a good
possible.
idea. I'm good with that.
Just so we're all.
Yeah.
If the policy is not valid
We
anymore.
have a kind of a packet next week. Public comment policy. I think we have enough push to next week. Something comes up, we'll let you know. I'll let Sabrina know.
I think a lot of stuff we were all so busy with town meeting that we're just like, I'm not right. Yeah.
All right. 5.3 announcements, communications, volunteer response forms. I would just add, if anybody's listening, that we still have positions available for many of the boards. They're all listed on the website, and if you could be so kind as to fill out one of those volunteer forms, and let us know what you're mostly excited and interested about. Hopefully you can come and help us out. The next meeting is July 1st at 6 p.m. And we've discussed a lot of the items that will be on that agenda. And is there a motion to? I know we have to go back.
Oh, okay.
I know we have to go back.
Okay.
I just want to get everything else
Okay,
out of the way. I will adjourn. 5.5, review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none. Vote.
Veronica Kell, yes.
Valerie Goodrich, yes.
Laura Schifrin, yes. Can we take a 1-minute break, please, or 2-minute break?
Sure.
And
Sounds
we'll
good.
come back. Would you?
See if it's going on.
Okay,
All right, we're back on.
Okay.
thank you for the pit break.
Town council is still not available, so I think we can still make the motion, to have a special town election, contingent.
For the
on-
override.
Yeah, contingent on, town council's approval of the ballot question. Those are the 3 dates that we had. Sort
So
of,
how do we make that motion?
For the earliest possible, based on
Based on town council's
approval.
Okay.
do we need to include the question itself? Remember, we kind of ran into that issue.
I can. Can I be past the exact wording, just to make sure I have it? It's in here. I don't think it was in my packet, actually, is the problem.
The election date is for the override.
Yes.
That was voted last night.
I gave you a copy of this.
Yeah, right.
I
Oh,
don't,
no.
I don't have it in mine.
Did you take hers or you just gave it?
No, I gave her.
You know,
what you
I
gave
think
me.
I gave mine to Harrison.
Oh, okay, got it. All right.
So, I move to set the special town meeting election for July 29th, 30th, or 31st, contingent upon approval of wording by town council. Correct? As stated, question 1, shall the town of Townsend be allowed to assess an additional $258,827 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding wages, salaries, and benefit for the town's operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 5th, 2025?
Second.
Any discussion? No? None? Roll call?
Veronica Cal, yes.
Goodrich, yes.
Maura Schiffern, yes.
So I will confer with Adam as soon as possible for him to review the language, as well as can we insert, some additional language that breaks down the 258,
Correct,
827.
as we stated last night,
Correct.
as it was amended last night.
Right.
To include.
So that warrant, being amended that way, I can see why people wanted it done that way.
Oh, yeah.
To my point earlier, I just don't know if it's possible to insert.
Well, if he approves that, it should be as amended.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But just to clarify, either way, we've already, because it has to be approved twice, we've already approved as stated in the special town meeting with those departments,
Those functional.
those functional segments.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great.
I will now entertain a motion to adjourn, and we will review and sign warrants out of session.
I make a motion to adjourn at 8:27.
Second.
Anybody object? Hearing none, we are adjourned.